Have you ever felt like your hard work went unnoticed? Like the effort you put in, the sacrifices you made, somehow got lost in history? Now, imagine dedicating your entire life to something, fighting for a cause, shaping a nation, only to be forgotten. Sounds unfair, right? But that's exactly what happened to some of the most important figures in American history. You might think you know who built America, but the real thing is still left to be told. And trust me, you wouldn't want to miss it. When we think of America's founding, we picture figures like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Benjamin Franklin. But history is never just about a few great men. It's about the countless individuals who worked behind the scenes, whose names never made it into textbooks. Have you ever heard of Haym Salomon, the financier who saved the Revolutionary Army from financial collapse? Or James Armistead Lafayette, the enslaved man who became a double agent and delivered intelligence that led to America's victory at Yorktown? And what about Sybil Ludington, the teenage girl who rode twice as far as Paul Revere to warn of a British attack? Their contributions were monumental, and yet their stories remain in the shadows. Let's go back to 1776. America is on the brink of war. The Declaration of Independence has been signed, but victory is far from certain. While Washington leads his army, a man named Haym Salomon is working behind the scenes. A Polish Jewish immigrant, Salomon uses his banking skills to secure crucial loans, keeping the Continental Army alive. Without him, the war might have been lost. Yet today, few remember his name. And then there's James Armistead Lafayette. Born into slavery, he risks everything to spy for the Americans. He infiltrates British camps, gaining the trust of high-ranking officers, including General Cornwallis. His intelligence turns the tide at the Battle of Yorktown, leading to America's final victory. But after the war, instead of being rewarded, he remains enslaved until he petitions for his freedom years later. These aren't just stories from the past. They're reminders of the sacrifices made by people who never got their due credit. History often paints the American Revolution as a war fought by men. But what about the women? Sybil Ludington was just 16 when she rode through the night, warning militias of an impending British attack. Covering nearly 40 miles, double the distance of Paul Revere's famous ride. And yet, her story remains largely untold. Then there's Deborah Sampson, who disguised herself as a man to fight in the war. She served for nearly 2 years, even treating her own wounds to keep her identity hidden. When she was finally discovered, instead of being honored, she was dismissed without pay, forced to fight for recognition long after the war ended. Their courage shaped America, but their names have been forgotten. Why does this matter today? Because history isn't just about the past. It's about who we choose to remember. These forgotten founders remind us that change doesn't come from a handful of famous figures. It comes from the countless, unnamed individuals who dare to make a difference. America was built on the backs of immigrants, enslaved people, women, and ordinary citizens who refused to be silent. Their sacrifices deserve to be remembered. Their names should be spoken. Because without them, the story of America is incomplete. So what do you think? Have you heard of these forgotten founders before? Do you think history gives enough credit to the unsung heroes? Let me know in the comments. And if you love uncovering the hidden stories of history, hit that subscribe button, because the next story, it's even wilder.